Hear how to use your story for an inspirational talk with my guest, Tanea Smith, on this episode of the Speaking Your Brand podcast. More and more women are making an impact by starting businesses, running for office, and speaking up for what matters. With my background as a TV political analyst, entrepreneur, and speaker, I interview and coach purpose-driven women to shape their brands, grow their companies, and become recognized as influencers in their field. This is Speaking Your Brand, your place to learn how to persuasively communicate your message to your audience. Hi there, and welcome to the Speaking Your Brand podcast. I'm your host, Carol Cox. I have gotten such great feedback from the episode I did last week on 3 speaking styles you can use. If you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go back and listen to that one, as well as the episode from the prior week, which is on mistakes that speakers make that turn off their audiences. These are excellent episodes to listen to as we prepare for the return of in-person speaking post-COVID. I know I'm so excited about that, which is why I'm bringing you this episode today as part of the podcast series we're doing called Speaker Prep. My guest today is Tanea Smith, the founder of She's Got Papers, where she creates and sells witty and empowering stationery, journals, and planners, and you will love it. You have to go to she'sgotpapers.com to check it out. We recently worked together in a VIP day to create her signature talk because she had a momentous visibility event that happened a few months ago where she was featured on Good Morning America, and the response was incredible for her and for her business. And so in this episode, we talk about how she's using her life journey for her signature talk, including how we identified her big idea, her through line for her talk, how we selected specific stories to include in her talk, and what happened with this Good Morning America segment that confirmed the message that she wants to share with her audiences. You're going to love Tanea's energy and enthusiasm, and you're going to really be inspired by her story and what she's doing now. You can find links to Tanea's website on the show notes for this episode at speakingyourbrand.com/230. Again, that's speakingyourbrand.com/230. You'll also find a link to the Good Morning America TV segment that she was on. If you would like to work with us to create your signature talk and thought leadership platform, you can schedule a free consultation call. Just go to speakingyourbrand.com/contact. Again, that's speakingyourbrand.com/contact, or you can send me an email, carolcox@speakingyourbrand.com. Now, let's get on with the show. Welcome to the podcast, Tanea.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you so much for having me.
I am thrilled to have you on because we're going to talk about how you're using your story and really your lifetime of your story to inspire other women and to help them achieve what they wanted to achieve in their life, because you have done this. And we recently worked together in a VIP day to create your signature talk. And as we were working on it and you were sharing with me the different aspects of your life, and then these 3 key elements that you've identified that really are the keys to why you've gotten to where you are today. And I thought this would be such a great thing for the podcast listeners to listen to so that they can be inspired as well. So Tanea, let's start with what happened to you not that long ago. So we're recording this in June 2021, and back just a couple months ago in April 2021, something happened that really shifted what you were about to do. I just love it. I'm going to include a link in the show notes for listeners to go so that they can actually watch it. But tell us what happened.
Okay, first I have to say, because I'm a guest at your home, I'm such a fan of your podcast. I'm a podcast junkie, right? So I've been listening to your podcast for at least 2.5 years, and I love it. So thank you so much for having me. It's an honor. Well, 2020 was terrible, like just period, right? Terrible. And like so many other business owners, when the pandemic first happened, I was like paralyzed with fear, like paralyzed, because no one, initially when they said that the kids were going to stay home from school, think about March, right? When this thing first happened. And they said the kids will stay home from school. And I said to my daughter, oh, you'll be home for a week. You can help me in the office, and that turned into like a year and some. So in the beginning, I was scared to death, and just not like nothing was moving. Nothing. You're not even advertising or marketing. You're not doing anything. And that went on for a while. I had to do a pivot with She's Got Papers, going from inspirational stationery, which is what we do, to then creating a new product, because there was so much death. Oh my gosh, Carol, it was so much death. It was just beyond, right? And I had a client who called me, her uncle had passed, and she asked me if I would do a set of bereavement cards for her. I did those cards, and the next thing I know, we're doing bereavement. And so I said, well, no, that's not what I want to do, because that's not my business, right? That's not my business. And it just becomes really, obviously we need those services. Death is a part of life, but that's not what I wanted to do. And then I got to a point where I created a new box. That box was doing well, but business was so slow that I was just like, I'm not going to make this. I listen to the actors and the actresses when they tell their parents and their family that they want to be actors and actresses, and they say, make sure you learn how to type so you can have that something to fall back on. I had that to fall back on. And so to your point and where you're getting, right as I was at a crossroads and saying, well, listen, I've done this. I achieved the dream. I've done it, right? I'm going to go back to corporate for a while. I'm going to catch my breath. I'm going to catch that good health insurance. Okay. I'm going to get myself together. I was featured on Good Morning America. And let me tell you something. Okay, first of all, I don't know if people really know how TV works, right? If you film, you're not necessarily shown at that time. So they gave me an air date, but then it didn't happen, right? And then they said, okay, well, we're going to air it, but we're not going to do it now. It'll be on this date. And in between the time that we had actually filmed it and the time it was actually ready, I had been to see a good headhunter. And I told the lady, listen, here's my resume. I'm a vet, right? Let's get me back out there. And then the producer emailed me and she said, we're going to air you on Friday. Carol, I'm going to tell you something. And I have given birth twice. I have 2 lovely children. I have never in my life experienced something like that, because you come to crossroads. That's what life is about, right? We all come to these crossroads where you have to go left. You have to make a choice. A choice must be made. And I was really at that point. It changed my business. And once again, changed my life.
So Tanea, on that Friday in April 2021, your Good Morning America segment airs, which you did a beautiful job in your part of the segment. Again, I'll include a link in the show notes so that listeners can go and watch it.
Okay.
What happened that day as soon as that segment aired?
Okay. I have to go back because I always have to include my mother. And my mother makes me super nervous. So I never tell her if I'm doing something big, right? I always want to tell her after. So anything she says, it doesn't bother me, right? But for reasons that I don't want to get into, I just said, let me call her, right? Let me just share this with her, because one day I'm going to want to call. She's not going to be there. And we were on the phone, the segment, which called The Tease, it came on. And I was sitting on my couch, and something happens when you see yourself on your living room TV and you say, oh my gosh, that's me, right? And I told my mother, I said, listen, I gotta go. I can't talk to you. I gotta go. Because I wanted to hear it by myself. The segment airs, and I think it was like 124, 126. We go off. I have Shopify. Shout out to Shopify. They are the best thing that ever happened to She's Got Papers. When you get a sale on Shopify, there's a little cash register that goes off. And let me tell you something. Before the end of the segment, my phone starts going off. My office phone is ringing. My cell phone is ringing. I'm frozen. And here's why. Because it's like an hour-long, right, interview that you do and so much footage you give. You never know what's going to make it. And I was texting with a friend and she said, oh my gosh, I was at work and I heard the voice. And I said, I know that girl. And I said to her, if you only knew where I was just last week, you would know what this means to me. And there was a woman, I must say her name, Delois Beckham. She called my office phone and she told me her name and she says, I saw this gal on the TV and I think she's amazing. And I said, well, she is me. Hello. And so, this went on. People talk about the Oprah effect. I want to talk about the GMA effect. This went on for days and days and days, sales and sales and sales. And what I did was, first I had to sit down and collect myself, right? Because it blew my mind. Not that the people were not interested in the paper, because I think they were. I think what really got to people was it can happen. It is the story. It is listening to someone else's narrative, someone else's story, or someone else's journey. It can happen, And so what I loved so much was these women called me on the telephone. I mean, they were on my office phone, and they were saying, is this you? And I'm like, of course. Who else would it be? It was wonderful.
And Tanea, I am so glad that this happened to you. And I love the way that you share that story. And can you tell us, how did you end up getting that segment on Good Morning America? Because obviously, like so many of us would love to be on a national television program like that. How did that come about?
Right. Well, I work with a woman named Sabina. And Sabina and I met moons ago when I was pregnant with my daughter. We were in a group together called Ladies Who Launch. Name the group in Manhattan. I was in it. And we met years ago. Fast forward all these years, she has a group, which I highly recommend. It's called Press for Success, right? And what she does is in Press for Success is she teaches you how to actually pitch yourself and pitch for your business. Here's what I think a lot of people really don't understand, though, about press. It takes a long time. I tell people, my daughter's 14 years old. I started She's Got Papers when I was pregnant with her, right after maternity leave. It took me 14 years to become an overnight success. And then further to that point, what is your definition of success, right? Do you have to be a multi-million-dollar company, or do you need to be able to just pay your rent? Success. What is success, right? But that's how that happened. It is consistently putting yourself out there, taking chances on yourself. Do you know how many people told me when I started She's Got Papers, you're going to sell cards? Like it was wild geese or something. Like, yes, greeting cards. You have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to be in it. I say to women all the time, you can't just like it. Because if you like it, never leave your job. Don't never leave them. Okay? Like this thing, do it on the side, do it on Saturday, and twice on Sunday. You have to live it. Mm-hmm. You have to live what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that point, Tanea. And I was actually thinking about in one of the mastermind programs that we run here at Speaking Your Brand, I was just having a conversation with them that you really need to fall in love with your business, and you really need to fall in love with your clients or your customers, because that energy, that love that you have for your business, the love that you have for your clients and customers, that is contagious. They're going to feel that. And of course, we all get frustrated with our businesses. We reach a point where maybe we're a little burnt out and we need to take a break. So take that break so you can re-fall in love with your business.
Right. Absolutely. Breaks are really, really important. You need to have a real self-care regimen, right? And I love that self-care and mental health awareness and all these things are really being talked about now, because it is so important. People say, if you're doing what you love, you'll never work a day. Oh, no. I work days. I work days and nights. Okay? Now, that's not true. You can absolutely love it and I reached a point where I'm exhausted. Because what people don't understand about entrepreneurship, it's like parenting. It never stops. I had a grown woman. I have a video I did called Ask a Grown Woman, right? And I had a grown woman say to me, this is like a baby. As I was starting the business, she said, it's a baby. You have to feed it. You have to nurture it. That's what it is. This is what this is.
Yes, and I can imagine being a parent, and I'm not a parent, but I can imagine that,
Yeah.
like being an entrepreneur, being a parent, you learn so much about yourself, and
Yes.
about the things within yourself that you want to work on to either to be a better parent or to be a better entrepreneur.
Exactly. Exactly. And it stretches you in good ways. It stretches you in good ways. When I first left my job, I mean, I had a team of people that worked with me, and I loved them because they knew that I had a full-time job. This was my side thing. They were really dedicated to my vision. But once I left corporate and I didn't have that big salary to lean up against like a brick wall, okay, now you're going to learn how to do some things yourself. It's going to stretch you. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful because you do need to know, if not everything, you need to know what people are doing, right?
Absolutely.
And at least know your way around the block.
Yes. And so, Tanea, you just said one key word, which I want to talk about now, and the word is vision. And this really is at the core of your signature talk that we worked on. And let me actually show, for those of you who are watching the video version of this, which you can find on our Speaking Your Brand YouTube channel. Let me just kind of like show a pass here of what your signature talk looks like now that we're done. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It has all of your stories and audience engagement and key points on there. But really, when we were working on this, I said, when you were talking about vision and giving me some examples from your own life, I said, that is it. Tanea, that vision that you've held for yourself consistently, and the work that you put in every day, every week, every year around this vision, I believe that has what has brought these opportunities to you. So can you tell us a little bit more about vision and how you enact vision in your life?
Well, I have to go back to the couch, okay? I was 19 years old. I was pregnant with my son, and I would sit on the couch in my apartment, and I would write a single line in my journal. I would start each entry with this line: "This is not my reality." Okay? I didn't know what it meant. I just knew that the way my life was, and that wasn't going to be it. That's not the way we were going to be living, right? And I started getting this catalog in the mail called Ballard Designs. Don't ask me how. You know how you get junk mail and for some reason, I started taking this magazine very seriously, right? And I would sit down and I would make a list. Now, I have to tell you this. I was on public assistance at the time. So I was getting $109 every 2 weeks and $212 in food stamps. Now, you do that math, okay? Think about the fact that my cable bill is $326 today, okay? But no matter. I would get my magazine. I started looking forward to it. I would get my magazine. Every month, I would sit down and I would make a list in my journal of everything I was getting from Ballard Designs. That was the beginning of me having a vision. I was getting chandeliers, I was getting sconces, rugs, name it, okay? Because you're only looking forward. You're not trying to figure out how is this happening. You're only saying to yourself, it's going to happen, right? So language is very important as you're bringing this vision into focus. That was the beginning of vision for me. Over the course of my life, I became a chronic terror of magazines. When I started She's Got Papers, I was working full time, and I would make these vision boards, and I would bring them to work, okay, and put them up in my cubicle. Oh, Carol, so insubordinate. My entire cube was decorated with vision boards. I had them here in my office. I brought them home when I left my job, and I put them on. I have a vision wall, but it was all of these inspirational quotes. It was whole pages from old magazine because I was visioning my way out of corporate. And no one ever said a peep. But the thing is, I was doing my work. And for me, it was just a way to keep me moving forward. When you have a vision, it pulls you forward. There's no struggle. If you're focused on your vision, you're not struggling with it. It's forever pulling you forward.
Yes, absolutely. And I know you've had, and then with the Ballard Designs catalog, I remember you said that there was, I don't know how many years later it was, and then you were walking through a mall.
It was over 20 years later, actually. This happened in 2018, I want to say, or 2017. I would have to consult the archives, my books. And my daughter wanted to go to a mall. It was her birthday. And she said, "Oh, Mommy, I just want to go to a mall." We decided to take her to Roosevelt Fields Mall, my first time ever in this mall. And as she and I are coming up on the escalator, what is staring me in my face but Ballard Designs? Let me tell you something. I cried. I had to get off the escalator, no accidents. I went in. I talked to the sales assistant and met the manager, of course. And I just said, "You have no idea. I used to write about you and the things in this store that I was going to get. I could afford nothing in the physical, but in my mind, I could afford everything." Right? And so we talked, I'm going to venture to say they've never heard a story like that before, but Ballard Designs, it was right. And I just said, wow, look at that.
I love that, Tanea. And so I know that you are a big advocate of journaling.
Oh, yes.
For yourself, because I know that you've been doing that for a long, long time. So tell us about the role that journaling has played for yourself and the connection that it has with vision. And I know that you're also, as part of your company, She's Got Papers, you also sell journals and planners because you really want other women to start doing this activity as well.
I think that journaling for me, first of all, it's my spiritual practice now. I've been doing it for over 30 years. I was that little sister. I have an older sister. She's 2 years older than me. Everything that Shamia was doing, Tanea wanted to do it, right? So I was that little sister that tagged along with her and her friends and went everywhere. And one day, my sister, she had been keeping a diary. They were diaries when we were little girls. And one day she took me to Chinatown, and I was 11, and she brought me my first journal. And I would write things down, just little stuff, daily stuff. It wasn't until I had my son that I developed this serious practice. And I didn't know at the time what this practice really was. But my journal became my best friend. It was like my listener. It never argued back. I could write all my dreams down in there, all of the things that were happening with me, having a new baby, being a young mother, trying to figure out my life. My sister was a genius, remains so to today. So when I had great models, my mother and my sister. So it was really, for me, an internal quest in trying to figure out, who are you and what are you going to do? My grandmother wrote me a letter when my son was born. And what she said in the letter was so profound. She said, "Tanea, you're not the first. You won't be the last. But what you do now is up to you." Okay? And I will tell you, as a teenage mother, it did two things. One, it freed me. It freed me. I can't even say I recognized it at that moment as freedom, but I was like, oh my gosh, that was so nice, Mommy. No, she freed me from the shame of the act, the guilt, right? The fear of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then it started giving me the impetus. That was like the catalyst. It was like, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do? Right? And after I got into a serious rhythm with my journaling and then realizing all the benefits, right? How therapeutic it was, how I just felt so free and I could release things. And I didn't have to necessarily speak it, right? Oh gosh, it has been the best thing that ever happened to me. I knew when I did She's Got Papers, it wasn't with the first collection or the second. By the third one, I said, oh, I have to have a journal. I have to have a journal. And when I started speaking and talking about journaling as part of this vision, self-care, release, practice of mine, I said, okay, now that we've got a journal, I've got to give them the steps. I've got to give them the steps to this. And they are essentially the 5 steps that I took to create a new reality for myself. And I've been creating a new reality literally since I was 19 years old.
And Tanea, so when I was younger, I kept diaries as well, like middle school, high school age for sure. And then I haven't been very good as an adult in keeping up with journaling. I'll do it for maybe like a little period of time and then I'll stop. And then, I'm sure that there are a lot of listeners who are like me, where maybe we're not sure, like, what should we be journaling about? Do we wake up in the morning? Is it just stream of consciousness? Is it something in particular? Is it a problem we're trying to solve? Like I assume it's different for everyone, but how do you use journaling? What do you write about?
Well, Carol, you sure you want to know? For me, because I've been doing it for so long, it's very free flowing, right? I developed a series called Dear Gloria because I wanted to teach women how to do it, right? So rule number 1 in journaling, be honest. Be honest, be vulnerable. It's your safe space, your free space. To your point, most of us started keeping diaries when we were younger. And I've had so many women say to me, I stopped after somebody read my book, right? And that is such a violation. If people only knew what a violation of privacy and everything that is to someone, right? So I would say just be vulnerable. Just say it. I had a woman say to me, I mean, my handwriting and, my grammar, I said, listen, I don't care if you write like a serial killer, okay? This is not a ransom note. Write it, because here's what you'll learn. And then I also say, if you're just beginning, schedule it, pencil it in. My journaling day is Saturday. My journaling day has been Saturday for the last 25 years. Well, my son will be 27. So the last, 25, 27 years, whatever. But pencil it in, make it important. Like if you're working on your fitness, you're penciling in your workout. If you're serious about it, you have to feed your children by a certain hour so that they can do homework, get to bed. Pencil it in, just like chicken and mashed potatoes. Okay, and get yourself a little space. I journal in my bed, but Saturday call my house at 5:30. I'm up. We can talk just like this. Okay, honestly, I'm up. I take my shower, I put my coffee on, I get my book. And I've had great children. My children are fantastic. I've always been able to do it really early before they got up. It is so important to me. If I miss a Saturday, I'm on the warpath. I've got to do it because my head is so full, right? Of things with my kids, things with my parents. They're at a certain age now, and you kind of become the parent and you're making sure, are they okay? Are they doing what they need to do? What about your cholesterol, right? So I pencil in that time just to get in touch with Tanea, right? But the Dear Gloria series, oh my gosh, Carol, I was afraid to do it, I have to tell you, because video is not a natural medium for me. And for years, so many people that I know were like, oh my God, Tanea, you have to do video. You have to do video, and you always feel like you have to do what's in vogue. What has really fueled Dear Gloria is when someone sends me an email and says, I heard what you said today. I needed to hear that. See, if you don't speak, someone out there is lost in the woods. It's lost in the woods. So it doesn't matter if I have 200 people listening or 2 people listening, right? This book this week is called A Drop in the Ocean. It's book 9. It's called The Drop in the Ocean. And it's all about the typewriter. One of my sister's colleagues at work, I was at the house sitting on the couch, probably writing in my book. And this is 1995. One of her colleagues was cleaning out her office at the law firm where my sister worked. And she said, Tanea, Deb is getting rid of this typewriter. Do you want it? That's how I learned how to type. That's how I got into corporate America. Drops in the ocean. But if someone hears book 9 and says, what drop can I put in someone else's ocean today? I did my work, Carol. I did my work.
Oh, I love that, Tania. You are so great about the metaphors, the drop in the ocean. I know you have about people on the bus was one of the videos that you did. And we'll make sure,
The bus
yes, I'm
trip.
going to make sure to include a link in the show notes to Tania's YouTube channel. The videos are there. They're also on your Instagram. So I'll also include that link. But you are so good at the metaphors. And I think that helps unlock, at least for me, like I start thinking about, okay, like I can journal about this idea, this metaphor, because it's almost like a writing prompt.
Right. Exactly. And also too, it's like my Aunt Renee says, eat the meat and throw away the bones, right? You may not need all 8 minutes or however long it is. That first 2 minutes of whatever I've said, you might say, now that's it for Wednesday. That's what I needed to hear, right? So it's important for a lot of different reasons. But journaling, the more you do it, I find the more you want to do it. The more you want to do it. Yeah, because you get to a place where you start to be able to do what I call a workout. It's a literal workout on paper. It's like, this is the event. So this is what happened. This is how I felt about it. This is the part I played.
That's a great point. Yes. And I'm even thinking that. So earlier this year, Q1 2021 was incredibly busy for us in the business because we had brought on some new team members. We were getting ready for our Brave Bold Beyond Live Virtual Summit. So my days were packed. And I actually started doing, I called it a CEO log. And so really, but it was kind of like journaling. So at the beginning of the day, I would put like, what is my intention for the day? What are my main priorities? Then at the end of the day, I would come back to my notebook and I would write, kind of like just take things out of my mind that I didn't want to sit there overnight, because then what happens is either I have trouble falling asleep,
right,
or I wake up at 3 a.m. because my brain is still problem solving and processing. So instead, at the end of the day, I would write down kind of like observations or lessons or things that needed to still get done. And then I would literally write on the page, my workday is complete. I am done for today.
There you go.
To basically reinforce to my mind, like, you don't need to solve these problems anymore right now.
Right. Exactly.
Like, go get a good night's rest and then come back the next day. But it was like building that habit actually really was very helpful.
Absolutely. And I also think that you find what works. Right? You find what works. If you can't do it every week, maybe you do it every 2 weeks, but you find what works for you. I've been doing it for so long that it really is second nature to me. It's like, oh, shower, coffee, book. My sister was texting me this past Saturday, I think at like 9:30. I text her back, you're not respecting the process. She knows. Saturday, she apologized. And oddly enough, she was doing it. I was the little sister who wanted to do it. And I just found out last week, she's not that consistent anymore. She is not that consistent. But for me, it is so good. It has opened my life up in ways I can't describe. Anything that I want to do, I'm thinking about doing, I'm talking myself out of doing, is in the book. And I have 67 books now.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So Tanea, the other thing that you sell, in addition to the cards and the journals, is a 30-day planner. So I know that, in your signature talk, you have these 3 key elements for success, which is vision and then planning. So planning and goal setting. And the third one is support. So having that support system. So the 30-day planner then is for the people who are using it to actually, it sounds like, set some goals and then work towards that.
Right, exactly. My grandmother, God bless her soul, my grandmother used to say, God doesn't close one door without opening another. And I say, right, but sometimes it's hell up in the hallway, okay? And the hallway is where you do all of your work, right? All of your self-improvement work, your self-development work, everything happens in the hallway. And so the planner is really, it's part workbook, part planner, right? And the reason I love it so much is because you tend to create what you wish was there, right? When you were at that phase. I wish I had a planner like this, because in the very beginning is an all about me page. And this all about me page, you have to fill in who you are. I can't get from point A to point B if I don't know what happened before A. Who is this person? Who am I? Right? And who am I trying to become? Right? What have I learned from the influences in my life? My mother taught me this. My father taught me that. The women in my circle have taught me something else, right? And then the planner has a vision page. It has a vision page. You have to sit down and actually plan. Even if it's just the next 30 days, what do they look like? What do they look like? Now, little known fact about me, I plan by the quarter. I plan by the quarter. It could be because I'm a business owner, but I plan by the quarter, right? And every day I have a book I call the Bible, my day designer, but it's part planner, part vision book. I have all kinds of quotes and clippings and things that I've put in there because the vision it will always be most important. If you have no vision for your life, you're going nowhere.
Right. You're just like every day, and you're just kind of stumbling along. But then, but where is it that you want to go? It's like getting in the car and saying you want to go to a destination, but you have no map.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You may get there, but the odds probably are 1 in a million that you would get there without a map.
Exactly. So I just tried to put something together that I know can actually help women to achieve these goals. And I have little pages in it that I call notes from the hallway, right? And those are the parts of the planner where you get to do little journaling, because I feel as though you always need to have a space, a full page to just say, this is what I'm feeling in this phase of my life. This is what I'm feeling, And I think we're often surprised by what comes through in our own words. I never ever do this. It's my rule, unless my sister challenges me. And she'll say, Tanea, this happened in 1998. And I'll say, hold the phone. Let me go to the archives. Okay? And I will go to I have a lean cedar chest in my foyer. And that's where all my books are, all the ladies. And I'll just pull the book, and I'll tell her what happened because I have written everything down in great detail. And if I'm doing that, I happen to be doing that a couple of weeks ago. And I read something that I wrote in 1998. My son was 4 years old. He's now 27. And I said to him, Brandon, can you believe I wrote this? Your life, all of it is a surprise. All of it is a surprise. Even if you have a vision, Carol, you're going to come to a crossroads. When I left corporate, I said, we're finished for good. I love you, but thank you. Thank you and good night, right? Except earlier this year, I said, listen, I'm done. W-2, please, over here, right? You don't know what's going to happen, right? But if you have a vision, it gives you some sort of blueprint, that you can then follow. And then as you come to the crossroads, you make adjustments.
Absolutely, Tanea. And so I love this. I'm going to share with the listeners a little bit of how we took all of these wonderful stories that you have and put it into your talk. Because I know that this is something that a lot of women who want to do, have their signature talk and do public speaking, and they may have different stories, but they're not sure exactly how to integrate them or which stories to pick. And I believe, Tanea, because you journal and because you've been journaling for so long, you know these stories. So when we worked together and I asked you some stories, you knew exactly the stories that you wanted to share. And I know for myself, and this is actually where journaling would be helpful to me and helpful for those of you listening, is to create this story bank. Because then you have stories to pull from when you go on podcast interviews or when you go speaking with your talks, so that you're not kind of wondering, oh, well, I don't know what story to pick. So let me, again, for those of you watching the video, show a little bit here. So what we decided to do on the board was to start with your Good Morning America segment.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like the opening to kind of pull the audience in. Right? Because it's impressive. It's impressive. And it's such a great story of that idea of the crossroads and the vision and what happened to you. And it also gives you instant credibility. Because if you've been on a national TV segment like that. It gives you credibility. So we wanted to make sure we did that. And then your other stories, you can kind of see here the pink ones. So the pink Post-it notes are the stories. And so we took those and we identified first those three elements, which was the vision, the plan, and the support.
Right.
And then we took some of these individual stories that you had and used those as examples underneath the vision, the planning, and then the support. And then, of course, then we wrapped the ending of your talk back to the beginning. And so I just wanted to let the listeners know that that's a way that you can take one central story that will really kind of pull the audience in, like for you, the Good Morning America segment, and then take some of these other stories and use them as examples in the key points that you're making.
Yeah.
All right, Tanea. So where can listeners go and find these journals and these planners? Because I know that they're going to be wanting to pick one up so that they can start journaling and creating their story bank too.
Okay. So you can get your journals at shesgotpapers.com, and you can watch the Gloria series. It's on our YouTube channel, She's Got Papers, and it's on Instagram, IGTV, right? IGTV. Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Tanea, thank you so much for coming on the Speaking Your Brand podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm a fan. I can't believe I was on here. Now this I will let my mother listen to.
Oh, fantastic. All right. I'll say hi to Tanea's mom. I am so excited for Tanea and having her share her life journey and her message to audiences far and wide. Don't forget that you can find links on our show notes page to Tanea's website, her Good Morning America TV segment, and more at speakingyourbrand.com/230. And check out Tanea's website at shesgotpapers.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.